Good afternoon. My name is Marita Hines. I'm the Director of Education here at the Museum of Indian Arts and Culture, and thank you for being here this afternoon. This is the third lecture in the Native Narrative Speaker Series. This series of panel discussions, programs, and presentations reflect the themes in our permanent exhibit, Here, Now, and Always. The exhibit has 7 areas of concentration: cycles, ancestors, home and community, trade and exchange, language and song, art, and survival and resilience. Today we're going to be talking about art. The series is generously funded by Edward and Maria Gale and the Gaussoin Family Foundation. Thank you so much for your support. And right now I'd like to welcome the Gaussoin family, minus 2 members. Things happen, you know. And they'll talk to us about their art, creativity, inspirations, and being part of the family of artists. You can see their jewelry in the art section of the exhibit, which highlights each of their styles and techniques. And then at the end of the program, we'll have about 15 minutes for Q&As. And then David is going to be our moderator today and keep these questions going. So David, I'm going to turn it on to you.
Hello. At ane the daiha mawamatsu atofanakoa. Good afternoon, everyone. We always like to greet everybody in our traditional language of Tiwa. We are Picaris Pueblo, which is located up north by Taos Pueblo, about an hour north of Santa Fe. And we are also Navajo from the Cottonwood area, which is way out there by Chinle, Arizona. And our late father, the late Jerry Gaussoin Sr., was of French descent, so that's where our last name comes from. Before we get started, just like Marita said, we won't be joined this afternoon by my brother Waynez Gaussoin or my sister Tasba. It's that time of year, and they both came down with really bad colds. So they're at home sick, and we just ask everybody to send them some warm thoughts and so they can feel better soon. But my mother, Connie Sosi Gaussoin, is here. My older brother, Jerry Gaussoin Jr., is joining us via Zoom, and my name is David Gaussoin. And before we begin, on behalf of the family, we would like to thank the Museum of Indian Arts and Culture and all the staff here, especially Marita Hines, who asked us to be part of this presentation series. And we go pretty far back with the Mayak, our family. They've always been good to us, they really have. And we've been involved with the various directors here, and we've been very fortunate to be part of the Here, Now, and Always exhibit. Even in the original exhibit, they used to have our portraits on display by Toba Tucker, and then our jewelry as well. And so we really just want to give a huge thank you to the Mayak Museum and the staff for supporting our family the way they have. And we're just really happy about that, so thank you. Before we get started with questions, my sister Tasba knew that she wasn't going to be joining us today, so she went ahead and wrote a statement out that she wanted me to read on her behalf. So I'll go ahead and read that, and then we'll jump into the conversation. Hello, everyone. I'm very sorry I can't be with you all today, as unfortunately I caught a bad cold. I shared a statement from my family to share with you all about my journey. I graduated from the Institute of American Indian Arts in 2016 with a BFA in Museum Studies. I enjoyed the classes that the Museum Studies Department offered, which helped me when I moved to Washington, D.C. Metro in 2017 to start a position at the National Museum of American Indian. I was in a position for emerging Native museum professionals through a then grant-funded community loans program. From that position, I moved into another position working with the object and archival collections. I'm currently in an acting position as the assistant to the National Museum of the American Indians Director, Cynthia Chavez Lamar. I am also back at IAIA in my second year as a graduate student in the Cultural Administration's Master's Program. All of these amazing opportunities and experiences have helped me to progress my professional career in the museum field. In my spare time, right, I enjoy working with leather, sewing purses, as I have a small background in fashion design. Back in high school, I collaborated on fashion pieces with my brothers and taking classes at the Santa Fe Community College. I have been making and designing handbags since high school with the support of my mother. My works have evolved over the years as I enjoy including other mediums like silver and designs on my bags. I recently collaborated with my brother, Wayne Gaussoin, on a few clutches. I am not working on any major projects right now, as I am focusing on finishing my MFA, but am excited to get back to work. As for silversmithing, I have worked with the medium for quite some time, not just as consistently as my mom and brothers. I dabbled in carving tufa and painting when I was a child. In fact, I'm often reminded by my mom and brother's collectors that they still have art they bought that I created in my youth. After I graduated high school, I took jewelry classes with David at IAIA and the Santa Fe Community College. She was a good student, by the way. She didn't have a choice. Along with learning techniques from my mom and brothers at home. It was easy to work on jewelry at my mom's, as I had the privilege of her studio equipment right there. When I first moved to DC, I lived in a 200 square foot studio apartment on Capitol Hill and didn't have a space for my bench or any other place to set up to work. My husband, Carl Sutter, and I bought a house in Virginia last year with much more space than our DC studio. So hopefully some more jewelry works will be on the bench in the coming future. Thank you all for your time, and again, I'm sorry I couldn't be there today. Tasba. Just to let you know, in the background here is a presentation that we have put together just focusing on some of our past relatives from the Navajo Nation and our Pueblo of Picaries. So these are our great-grandfathers and grandmas, aunts and uncles, and you can just watch along as we talk, or if you get bored, you can look back there. And then towards the end, there's some pictures of ourselves, our jewelry, our fashion, so just to kind of give you a little visual taste as we talk. Alrighty, so we'll begin by starting with our mother, Connie Sosi Gaussoin. As the matriarch of our family, how did you get interested in jewelry and making this your career as an artist?
Wow. Okay, I've been, well, first of all, the matriarch sounds really old, but I guess I am getting old. I'm 75, I just turned 75 not too long ago. My body feels it, but anyway, I used to follow my father, Carl Sosi Sr. He was Navajo from Cottonwood, Black Mountain area in Arizona near Chinle, by Canyon de Chelly. And he used to be employed by Alan Stam, who built a lot of the homes here, you know, in the area and in Espanola. And, you know, and then when he, and in Los Alamos, and when he kind of came home after work, especially on Fridays, he'd be really happy with his $99 check, you know, that they gave him weekly to work, you know, in as a major master carpenter. And, you know, I look at that today and think, wow, you know, that those were different times, you know. And so, you know, I would follow him to work, and I guess that was the beginning of creating what I have, you know, started, you know, from the beginning is I was introduced to all kinds of tools that he used to work with, you know, all these hammers and you know, all these different files that he used to use on his work. And, you know, I used to really, you know, watch him, you know, just very, you know, intensely. And I was young at that time, very young, and I was going to St. Anne's School down here on our Fria. And, you know, he was just, you know, he would put that last nail into any kind of work that he did, and he always tried to make it, you know, hold together, you know. And you could see by the Stam homes, you know, he built, you know, they had a shop over here across from the St. John's Church, and he was he built all those wooden doors and the what do you call those doors for the cars, the car doors, and all the cabinets that you see, and they're all well built, you know, oak floors, and they're still, you know, very well built here in Santa Fe. You know, I'm not going to compare them to other, you know, places around here, but, you know, and that's really what influenced myself in work, you know. And besides that, my father, my late father, he used to, you know, my great-grandpa, that first picture that you saw, and I'm going to point out too, this is my uncle. The slides are going kind of fast, but anyway, the first photograph that was here was my late grandpa. We called him Grandpa Navajo from the Navajo Nation, and we used to herd sheep with him out there, and my aunts, you know, and that's a lot of work. You know, my late sister Judy Sosi, she was Dashno, but she passed away before they had the virus, COVID, you know. And she lived in Santa Clara with her husband, Walter Dashno. He was the governor for several times, and he's still living. But Judy and I would be sent out to the Navajo Reservation every summer, and we would, you know, have to herd sheep and chop wood and you know, just do the everyday living things, go for water, and you know, we really couldn't, you know. We all shared a little basin of water, and it was, you know, to wash every day. And we all shared the same water because, you know, there was no water out there. And so we were so thankful when it would rain because, you know, not knowing that I was going to be using a lot of tufa stone in my work, but, you know, when it rained, it would fill up on those little puddles there that, you know, the tufa puddles, I guess is what they were. And we'd all go out there, and my late Aunt Zani, she showed us how to take that yucca root and make it into shampoo, and we'd, you know, make it into shampoo in the little dips of water, and we'd go out there and wash our hair with this. But it really came out, our hair came out really soft and fine, you know, instead of all these products that we use today. But, you know, it was a really eye-opening experience, but that's the way I grew up, you know, very traditional. And we used to ride horses, and, you know, when I said herding the sheep and all that, and we would, you know, get overgrazed, and our aunts, late Stella, they would all get upset at us because, you know, as kids, we were riding horseback and, you know, having fun. And we would let the sheep overgraze, some of them, not all of them, and they'd turn up on their backs, and their feet would all be sticking up in the air, and it was just, that, because that was our food. That was our food, and then they used all that hair off the sheep, to weave rugs. They were major Navajo rug weavers. And two of my aunts wove one of the largest rugs that's in one of the museums out here somewhere. And, it was like over 6 feet, and just beautiful, traditional. At that time, they were doing like ganado type of rugs,
Can you talk a little bit about going to your uncle's house? And
louder?
him? No, talk about your Uncle Tom Sosi.
Oh, yeah.
Just don't worry about the
Here's
pictures.
my great-grandma. This is my dad's mother. We're going too fast on these, but anyway. Oh, the first, what was it to say about?
Talk about your Uncle Tom Sosi.
Oh, right, yeah, okay. When we were out there on the reservation, we would go visit my Uncle Thomas Sosi, and at that time, it's not permitted nowadays, but he had 2 wives, 2 sisters, 2 of my aunts that wove the largest rug. They lived in 2 huge hogans out on the Navajo reservation, and I'd go out there and I'd watch him working. He'd have these sheepskins on the floor, and then he used those old-time bellows, to create the fire for the tufa casting, because we have our own mine of tufa stone out on the Navajo reservation way out there by Cottonwood. And, I used to watch him work all the time, and, it was real traditional styles, and he had that Mexican silver, and, with the on the floor there, with a little bit of, the fire going, it was just really something to see, and I think that really, is molded into my mind of, when I started on this journey of jewelry making, not knowing that my children, would pick it up. And I was encouraged years ago. I'm sorry I'm skipping around because he always tells me, Mom, you just skip around with everything you say. So anyway, I took classes here with the encouragement of my husband, the late Jerry Gaussoin Sr., at the old College of Santa Fe. And with the encouragement of my husband, he told me to take this class. He was reading it in the paper, the New Mexican, with Nino Padilla. He was a goldsmith. And, he's not working in jewelry anymore, but I run into him once in a while at Tomasitas. But he was the master in what he did, So that's where I picked it up, learning how to solder and, some of the old techniques, that we used to create, like, the shadow boxes, that's, a lot of that isn't made anymore, and, just, working in gold with him and just making our own tools, out of just different types of files and all kinds of metal that we could find, nails. We'd make our own tools, and they would get to a certain, like a rainbow type of, what do you call it? After temper, when you're heating it up. Can you imagine? I used to teach classes at the 8 Northern Pueblos, and I had my students working on, making their own tools, and they're, I didn't let them skip any, any process on the jewelry, because that's how I learned, was we didn't have, we had jeweler supplies, but I didn't just run out to get, our supplies and everything else. Right now they sell, the pre-made silver beads and everything else, but we made our own, out of sheet silver, and I had my students, doing all that too, out of cutting each one out and with a saw blade, and some of them quit, but I mean, golly, but some of them went on to earn ribbons. I created my own competition, but that's okay. They're all master jewelers, today. And, I give the credit to my father, my late father, because he's the one that, was a master at what he did. And I used to really, watch him work. And I think, that's one of the gifts that he gave me that I treasure, And my mom also, she was from Pickery's Pueblo, and she used to do a lot of embroidery work. And hers was so fine. She used to take classes with the late Ramoncita Sandoval, whose things are probably in your collection here or in an exhibit, as well as several other ladies from San Juan. They'd be, sewing and embroidery for hours, but I think that's where I really, learned, how to take care of my tools and to teach the students, the old way, not just this machine-made. I have nothing against that. Might as well bring it up, but I have nothing against that, because I've been a jewelry judge for Indian Market and for the Heard Museum and everything else, and the questions I always get is that, what do you think about all this machine-made jewelry and everything? He gave it to us. And these young people, we have to encourage them. Whatever is out there, let them go for it. Let them use it. Just because I came from a different time, and stressed by my instructors, Skip Holbrook and all them, I think we just got to let, as long as they disclose whatever they're making, and change the classifications in the different types of art shows that are going around. That's the main thing, is they have to disclose and change classifications on the different types of jewelry and any other mediums that happen to come about, because nowadays, I hate to say this, no, I don't care. Seriously, but there's computer stuff, the computers that are there with the printing, and the computers even cut everything out for you, on the sheets of silver and gold. It's there, and we've got to learn to live with it. And my late Grandpa Ramos Duran from Pickery's Pueblo, he and my late Grandpa Navajo from Arizona, they used to encourage education, and I think that's where we get it from. And I want to keep encouraging these young people, because I have my own sons and daughters, and Wayne, this is Wayne's piece here, and I mean, talk about, everybody says contemporary. No, it's not contemporary, it's avant-garde, it's major. What he's thinking. You gotta let them think whatever they want to create and make, Yes, it's good to keep our traditional things, but I used to tell my students, I said, in class, I says, you have your Maria pot, but you don't want to put a diamond on that, come on, it's, do your own, let them do their own thing, because we were given that chance when we were making our things back when, and I just want to encourage the artists, all different mediums, in whatever they want to create. And if you're a judge out there, for judging, that's only one person's, how do you say it? One person's thinking. I've been a judge all over the state and everything else, and that's only one person's decision. Because,
All righty, Mom. Let's
Yeah.
give Junior a chance to talk.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see that we're very long-winded, so. But we have lots to say. So, Junior, this question is for you. I hope you can hear me.
This is my father.
Just let the pictures please. So, Junior, like many children of artists, we usually start our artistic journey by watching our parents, whether it's, like potters giving a small ball of clay to play with, or if you're a painter, giving your child a paintbrush or a sketch pad. In our case, I would say probably a block of tufa to start carving with. Junior, how did you know when and how it would be your calling to be a junior? I mean, a jeweler.
Good afternoon, all. So to answer David's question there, I do remember just at a young age with my mom having her studio in the numerous types of houses that we lived in throughout the years, watching my mom do stuff. But it wasn't until the current house that she lives in now, that I recall, when an official studio was actually set up, where they converted the garage over to what she has today. Sitting there watching my mom work on stuff at a very young age, and I would say, somewhere in between 8 and 10 years old, watching her work. Not necessarily asking a lot of questions, but just, I'm more of I think of all the children, I'm the one that would just sit there and observe and watch a lot and learn the techniques of what she was doing. And then when it finally came to a point where I thought I was, capable of doing something, I do remember one of my, first pieces. I believe I was in, I was somewhere between 4th and 6th grade, where I wanted to make a bead necklace. And so that's where my mom, there was a big show coming up. I know that out in Arkansas that she was about to go do at a gallery. So she gave me the materials, and the materials she gave me were, I remember it was brass sheets of brass. So it was, okay, I had to figure out how many, of each size, because it was a graduated, I believe it was like an 18-inch or so graduated bead necklace that was made out of brass. And she described, it was, had to hand cut every single one out and go through my trials and tribulations of soldering, and then I remember being very proud of being able to, once she approved of it being able to be for sale, because that was the other thing that my mom taught me growing up was you could put a lot of time into creating something, but it's the finishing work, because that's the end piece that the customer or the client will take, and that's what they see. So I think I spend a lot more time on my finishing work than I do the actual piece itself, but just because that's the end product, and that was instilled with me with my mother, with the sense of, I tease and joke and laugh about it now, but she was my Inspector 12, because nothing was allowed to be put inside the booth unless she approved of it, because as she reminded me, it was, even though it had my, my hallmark stamp on it, that was created with my initials, and early on it was a deer with antlers, but I was reminded that that it represents the family. So therefore, that's why it had to meet a certain standard in order for it to be inside of the booth for sale. So I learned very early on at that age that how to do it, how to put it together, and then but yeah, it was a bead necklace, and I was very proud of it. I think somewhere in that house, there's in the studio, there's a photo of me holding up the bead necklace that actually won a prize ribbon to it, and I do remember seeing the the end result as a kid, right? It was, being able to win a ribbon, and then on top of that, someone purchasing it, and having that, the end result of seeing, I have a ribbon and I have money in my pocket as a kid, that's in 4th or 6th grade time frame. So, and it was something that I created from scratch. Yeah, that was kind of, I think I was my first major piece I ever made, because I did a lot of little stuff, but I think stuff never made the cut to make it into the booth of anything that art shows that my mom was going to at the time. So, but that was I think my first piece that actually met the standards that were set. So that was kind of my first piece, and her, but it was learning from my mom, just sitting there and watching. I don't recall asking a lot of questions, but I just remember sitting and watching her work, for hours, during the day. She'd get up in the morning and make breakfast for my dad, and he'd go off to work, and then she'd go in the studio, and then, we'd sit there and during the summertime, sit there and watch her as a little kid, and then she'd get up and take a break for lunch and make lunch for my dad and me, and then
All right, thank you, Junior. I'll answer this question as well. I think for myself, and I'll just go ahead and claim the title. For, out of all the people in our family, even though it's kind of funny, I have a BBA in business marketing, I've never seen jewelry as a money-making adventure. And you can even ask my mom, to this day, selling the jewelry and being at art shows is the part I hate the most. I really hate it. For me, jewelry has always been about self-expression and playing. I, just like Jerry, grew up watching my mom work, and some of my very first pieces that I had to sell were these little tiny rings, and my mom would put them in a little tiny pottery bowl in her booth, and they were $5. Can you imagine that? And they were just simple. I would get a piece of half-round wire and wrap it around a ring mandrel and cut them, and then I would solder a little piece of scrap that my mom had just laying around, and that's how I started. And it was kind of funny over the years when I was making them. People, they were supporting kids, so they would buy them, and one man bought one as his engagement ring for his wife, and so I always wonder where all those little rings went, because I must have made a million of them, and then over the years I just started playing, and my mom laughs and tells people today that that's what I would tell her. Mom, can I play too? And even being, I don't even remember, I'm so bad at numbers, but I'm in my late 40s, and I still see it that way today. It's just it's a form of playing, and when I'm making jewelry, I laugh and tell people, that's my world. It's a world that I go into, and I block everything and everyone else out of, and I just have fun. I do what I want to do. It hasn't always been that way. Some of you who know me know that there's been critics over the years. But the more I got criticized, the more it just encouraged me to do what I want to do. You know what I mean? And just have fun with it. And for me, that's what jewelry has always been. When I was in high school, our father, and Jerry can attest to this, jewelry wasn't a professional option for us. We were never told to go to art school or to become professional jewelers. Our father was, of that generation where you had to go to college and get a degree and become a professional, whatever. And so he always encouraged me to go to medical school. And so that's when I graduated from high school. I applied to UNM, and I was a pre-med major. And I even interned at the Indian Hospital emergency room and helped deliver a couple babies and stitched up a couple people. And that's what I was going to do. And then I hit physics like a brick wall. If any of you are physicists out there, more power to you. I just couldn't do it. And I think in some ways that was a blessing in disguise, because it was the universe just saying, you know what, this is not your path. And so I took a semester off, and again, our dad had a very strict rule: you either go to school or you work. And so I didn't want to wait tables or, work at the Hotel Santa Fe, because that's what you do in Santa Fe when you're young and you don't have anything else to do. And so at that time, my mom had been taking classes at IA, so I thought, well, what the heck, I'll please Dad and just have fun. And so I went to IAIA, And it's kind of funny because, you know, our grandpa taught at the Institute for many years. He was part of the first group when Charles Lolema and Fritz Scholder and Alan Hauser were all teaching. But even then, we didn't see it as a viable path. You know what I mean? I guess just because the way our dad raised us. And anyways, I went to IIA, and I laugh and say that was the first time in my life that I realized you can be an artist. This is a real thing. Like, people do this, you know? And I had never thought about it. It's kind of crazy, but, you know, jewelry was just something we did to make money to go to school, or to, you know, raise money for prom, or it was never something I took seriously. And so, again, to please my dad, hashtag daddy issues, I went back to UNM, and I finished my BBA in business marketing. And even though it was hard, because at that time the UNM Business School was taught for you to work at a Fortune 500 company, and it really had nothing to do with being a professional artist, I filtered all that I learned into the business of art. And it's probably one of the best things that I did for myself and this family, because I learned the importance of marketing. I learned the importance of, you know, talking about yourself as an artist, because nobody else will. They don't tell you that as an artist. They don't say that you have to become your biggest self-promoter.